So it was 1.235 million profit in 2 days.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy. What is this I hear about you buying a church?
Yeah, no, so I acquired a church a few years ago. Quite the story, actually, how I got it. It was a combination of a Facebook message and driving by another construction site that I was building just around the corner from it. So super unique property, just about a half-acre church, and they were looking for an offer on it.
How'd you come across it?
They sent me a Facebook message, and they saw my project.
Yeah.
So they reached out that way, and then I saw that, and then they ended up getting my phone number too. I responded to the Facebook message, and then I saw that they had called me.
Yeah.
So I followed back up with them, and I said, hey, what's going on? You guys are looking for an offer on this church, so what does that mean? You know, like, what's going on? So from there, we just went into what terms they wanted. They wanted $600,000 for the church. I offered them $500,000 out the gate. Then they came back at $575, and I was able to get them to agree at $565.
But how do you go from like somebody bringing you a church to you being like, okay, this is worth $500,000, or I'm willing to pay $500,000? What's your plan with that church?
Smart. That's a great question. I didn't even think about that. So let me rewind a few steps. So I was building 2 10-plexes at the time.
Okay.
I had just finished another 10-plex.
Got it.
Some of those were 2-bedroom, 1-bath buildings, 2 of them. So 20 units were 2-bedroom, 1-bath. One was 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. And I really liked that building. I'd already rented it up at this point. Or I was in the rental process. So I was like, hey, I want to do this here. It was a half-acre. That project was a half-acre as well. I pulled the zoning on it. So we pulled the zoning, saw what we could build there, went through a process, did like a quick back of the napkin kind of evaluation on it. And from the back of the napkin, we're like, hey, we can pay somewhere around $500 to $575 was our thoughts. You know, didn't have the greatest entrance. It had an old easement they gave away that we were thinking we need to get back. So came in at $500. That's how that whole process started. So we looked at it. I was going to put 14 units on it. That was my plan. And from there, build it up and make it into a really cool project.
Did them giving away that easement and it being kind of a challenge to like kind of reclaim it, did that kind of sway you from wanting to develop it into 14 units?
Yeah, so we haven't been able to get that easement back. I still own it. So it wasn't going to make it impossible for us to do the project, but it limited what we could do on the project. And that's because of the fire code. So our access point for the fire truck was going to require a hard turn, and then we were going to have to put a hammerhead inside the project, which takes away a bunch of space, means we have to stack buildings where we couldn't do single story. If we had that easement, which they'd given to the neighbor, which is wild, the fire truck could have driven through the middle and out the back. And we could have access on both sides. And if we had access on both sides, it was actually a more appealing entrance for us too, through that neighborhood. So that's what we really wanted. I engaged with the neighbors, but didn't have very much luck in actually connecting with them. And as we're gonna go over here in a second, the plans completely changed on it. So
you go from finding it on Facebook or getting reached out to on Facebook, figuring out that you're willing to pay around $500 to $550 for it, and then you get to the point where you're kind of seeing that it may not be the best 14-unit development play. So what is next? How do you decide what to do with this? Are you going to sell it? What's the decision process there?
Yeah, so I did my feasibility. I didn't go to one of our teams. I did my feasibility on it. Easily had 14 units. I had a plan where I could go up to 70 units on it as well, because that was allowed. But I didn't like it for the neighborhood as far as parking, access, how it was going to look, how it was going to rent. Different corners of the property wouldn't have had good visibility. And this area isn't 100% the best area, so we look on always having from street to back visibility on buildings like that, because it allows us to not have as many issues. But the real problem was that they had issues with their taxes. So I didn't get a close on it for 23 months.
Hold on. You found this property and you had to go into escrow for 23 months?
Yes, there was a 30-day escrow and it took 23 months. And it might have been 22, but I think it was 23. I can't remember exactly.
Well, how did you discover this, and what would you have done differently in your due diligence period to avoid this?
if I could have this happen again, I would do nothing different. I would let this exact same thing happen because I didn't know what was happening at the same time like all of us do now. So when they looked at title, the name of it, when they did the the statement of information, went through and they're like, hey, you haven't filed taxes since 2003 to church. So they only have to do their statement of information. It's very simple.
Yeah.
They just basically pay their flat rate. They don't pay taxes. But they had never filed anything.
Wow.
So they couldn't close. The IRS wanted them to go through it. Well, this was in 2020. We couldn't just walk into an IRS office. Everything was closed. So we had to go through the process of demanding letters, demanding access, not myself, but them. And it took months and months and months to unwind this. And they weren't getting any feedback back. They weren't getting anything. Well, at the same time, the market was doing this. So they were like, hey, sorry, this is taking so long. I'm like, take your time. Like, have at it. Like, this is totally fine.
Yeah.
So it just took forever. And then they're like, hey, we're about to get the release. Do you guys still want the property? So they came to me, they're like, do you still want this? And I was like, absolutely. I just sat through one of the craziest upticks in the market. So it's gone up dramatically in value. And I'll explain how much, but a huge amount. So we ended up closing on it and going out and went on the property. And I was like, you know what? Let's see if we can just get some offers.
Yeah.
So I went to a developer, and this was the day after we closed, and I got an LOI to purchase the property from me for $1.9 million.
1.9?
1.9 million. So I had just closed
Okay.
at 565, and I was offered $1.9 million to sell that property right then.
So you could have walked away with like $1.4 million in profit.
1.325, yeah. 1.335.
Who's counting, right?
I am. So, get the LOI, open escrow, but at the same time, now the market's doing its next shift. And interest rates started doing what the market was doing before, and they went up. So this guy sadly walked.
I see.
So he walked, all that money gone, never gonna happen. Terrible.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, we'll put it on market. So we put it up on market, and you can see here in this image, it's an aerial view of the property, and it shows, the big lot. We were saying, hey, you can do this, and at the same time, we're like, hey, we're starting our plans. No one wants to buy it for the price that we want. We started at 1.9 because we're like, we already had an offer at 1.9. We'll just go ahead and sell it. So go out, not getting very much, and at the same time, we're kind of like, do we really want to build this? And we were like, yeah, we will, but it kind of feels weird when you get that big of an offer to then like go back and be like, I'm gonna do all the work.
Yeah.
And then we were talking with our attorney, we're like, if we syndicate it, can we increase the value of the property? And they're like, not by that much. And we're like, okay, it makes sense. Like, I get it. That could go bad. Which I'm glad we didn't, because the market did some weird stuff that would have turned out terribly.
Yeah.
And just had it on the market and ended up interviewing a girl to join our sales team.
Yeah.
And in the end, it wasn't a great fit. Still one of our great friends. Just not the same sales business that we're in. And I said, is there anything I can help you with to see if we could do some business together? And she goes, I have a pastor that needs a church. And I told her, I just looked at her and I said, I own a church. And that was very unusual for her.
Yeah.
So offered her the church as an opportunity to rent it from me.
Yeah.
I was like, you guys can rent it for 3 years while I do permits. I really wanted to rent it for 2. They wanted 3. So they're like, cool, let's meet you out at the site. 48 hours later, we're at the church. This is when I made my biggest investment into this property thus far. I put on 2 new locks on the building, so I spent about $100.
Wow.
I did it myself.
Yeah.
It was really difficult.
Did you put it on a credit card?
Yeah, and I'm just gonna run it out. No, get the points, miles. So I ended up going through the property, and they're walking through. They're looking at it. Dude, were you with me?
I wasn't with you.
No, you
when
weren't with me for this one. You weren't with me. You
I was
were
with
there.
you when you closed with the heir or the family member or something like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that. Well,
Yeah.
that's for another day. So they said, hey, we like it. We have to make a lot of improvements to it. As you can see here in these photos, it's pretty beat up.
Yeah.
So we'll take it, but we're going to need a lot longer lease, or we need to buy it from you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, all right, well, what are you thinking? They're like, well, we can't buy it right now because the market, but we'd be willing to lease to own it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to move off of a price of 1.5, is what I told them. And they said, that's fine. And I was like, all right, then good. We're in a good place to have this conversation then. Give me your terms. I'll get you my rental terms, and let's meet up in a couple more days. Met up 2 days later in the office, went over it, and I offered them $5,500 triple net. So that means they pay improvements, taxes, and insurance on the property. So I make my $5,500, they pay everything else,
Yeah.
and then I pay my mortgage with that. They said that's fine, and what we did was we negotiated terms on if they close earlier than 5 years. So they had 2 different step-ups where they could close earlier and get it for a reduced price. I think we had 1.35 and 1.4 is options for them, and then 1.5, and then if they go over, I think they're off. They get the property for 1.6.
Got it.
So they're like, we're in, we love it, we're done. So I ended up meeting them over there, giving them keys, and they took off, and they actually went through the process, permitted it, it was permitted. They permitted more work on the property. They added bathrooms. They completely revamped it. You've seen it. It's beautiful now.
Yeah.
They built out a nursery on it, and all of this they've done to my building for their benefit, but I still own the building. So if anything happens, that's still my building right now. They're still leasing.
Yeah.
And I believe they've put something to the tune of like $600,000 or $700,000 into the building. They love it. Right now we do our holiday drive, and we provide toys for their congregation.
Yep.
The needy members of their congregation that need toys. Obviously not the whole congregation needs toys, but people that they work with. And they've done a bunch of improvements, and on that deal, in the end, I'm going to make over $1 million. So myself and my partner Keith on that one. And there's so many lessons in there. I don't know if you've heard any of them, but I'm curious what you've heard.
So the investment that they made on the property itself, do you get to write off any of that investment?
No, I don't get to write off any of that investment. I can cost segregate the improvements though.
Okay, so tell us more about that. What does that mean?
Cost segregation is where you take a property, you break down the useful life of everything in that property. So they're going to say, oh, these light fixtures will last 7 years, so you can accelerate your depreciation instead of 27 and a half years. 27 and a half? Yeah, 23 and a half. 27 or 23. We'll check that later. Put it right here. Okay, perfect. So you can accelerate that depreciation to 7 years. Carpets, 5 years. This, that. So they break it down. They do what's called a cost segregation study.
Yeah.
So I actually don't believe I cost seg that building.
Okay.
We did a different style of write-off on it in the end. I'd have to talk to my CPA. I might have cost segregated it. I cost segregated 3 buildings that year, so it wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that we were able to do and value that we were able to get. One of the lessons too was I answered my phone and an opportunity came through it. There's a lot of people not answering their phone, not looking for opportunities. And the other thing too is I got offered a church and what I saw was land. But I had my ears open and my eyes available to see what else could be possible. When I had that conversation with that agent to join the team, and I just did my standard, I want to know what people need help with so I can help them out, or, and vice versa. And she said this, if I hadn't asked that, I would have never known, and this deal would have never come together. The property had been on market, but it was marketed as lot land, not as a church. So I had to make myself available to that. And additionally, and one of the last things here is, there's a million ways to finance deals. Literally, there's so many ways. It's not just a loan. There's a million different ways. Going through, doing a seller carry or a lease option here and allowing them to pay us on a regular basis allowed them to get into the property when they weren't financeable. So another thing they're doing is they're actually paying down the purchase price right now on a semi-annual basis. So when they get to the point that they're going to close, I think they'll owe us $125. they've done these improvements, they've increased the value of it. The property's going to appraise for well over 1.5 at that point.
Yeah.
They're not going to have to put more money in to finance the building.
Yeah.
So they're going to be saving money. And they have some other options. They'll actually be able to, I believe, get rid of their property tax on the building or reduce it dramatically, as they are the church that owns it, and a few other things that they'll be able to take advantage of. And then as a church, they're buying this building. They can now take everything they've put in it, do a full cost segregation study on it themselves. So it wouldn't matter if I've done it or not. They get to do it because now they own it. So they're going to save all that money.
So you went from finding something on Facebook Marketplace to deciding to purchase it, waiting 23 months to invest into it and purchase it, and then you were going to develop it, put it up for sale, ended up not selling it, wanted to get permits to develop it, ended up leasing it out to a church, and now that it's leased out and potentially going to be purchased by this church, and you're going to walk away with what, well over $1 million in
about $1 million by just over $1 million because of what we're made in rental income and the actual sales price.
All because you picked up your phone and you said yes to a deal on Facebook Marketplace. That's crazy.
Yeah, and the other thing too is the ability to see a deal. And one thing to think about, we don't really like to plug the group here, but we have real estate cheat codes, exclusive. It's our online group. Where we go over how to do deals like this, how to actually structure a deal and make that happen. So if you want, there's a link down here below. Sometime you can check it out, join us. We'd love to have you in the group and help you get to the next level. And stay tuned for more tidbits like this. Cheers.